Welcome back to another wonderful lesson with your favorite math teacher, Mr. Baisa. Don't deny it, I'm your favorite. So let's go ahead and look at today's lesson. We're on lesson 4, part 2. So we did end the lesson a little bit early in the last video. So we're going to go ahead and continue today. This is lesson 4, part 2. So our expectation is that you mute yourself, your cameras are on, questions are in the chat so we don't disturb others or me, and then we participate and have fun. Those are always going to be our expectations when we are doing lessons live. And well, I mean, you can turn on your cameras and mute yourself when you're doing this pre-recorded video. So, I mean, those are our norms. So let's go ahead and move on to the next slide in 3, 2, 1. Our first question, the way I like to start off every Nearpod, is what color of the moon meter are you today and why are you feeling that way? Okay, so I think about when I look at this, why am I in the color that I'm feeling? Whenever I'm doing these videos, I feel extra energetic. So I'm going to say that I'm energized. So this means I am in the yellow. In the yellow. And why am I in the yellow? Because I love recording videos and using my computer. I love recording videos. Yay! I spelled videos wrong. No. Remember, this is a math class, not a ELAR class, so, I mean, we are where we are. Okay. So then you would click the little blue button down here at the bottom and push submit. So if you need a little bit more time, make sure to put pause while I count down to the next slide. 3, 2, 1. All right, so this is your attendance sheet. Go ahead and put down your first name, last name, student ID, what period you are in, and then you are making this up before or after school. So you're either doing this before the lesson starts or you're doing this after our lesson if you missed the lesson or had to leave early. So you're just going to go ahead and click that submit button and turn in this attendance sheet. Again, if you need to pause it before I move on, make sure to hit pause. But we're going to move on in 3, 2, 1. This is where we start recording so that teachers can get better at what they're doing. We can see how we are teaching and become better teachers for you because you guys are so important to us, being here every day, working hard in every way. So let's move on to the next slide. We are still doing operations with the rational numbers. We're in the same unit since the beginning, but this is day 5, or I like to say lesson 4.5. The materials that you need are going to be your notebooks from yesterday. So we're going to use the exact same notes that we did yesterday. We're just going to add another piece. If you remember, we left off at 1/4. So you're going to need something to write the rest of those notes down. And you already have a computer or a Chromebook. That's how you're watching this video. Again, I don't think it's beneficial for you to be watching this on a phone or a tablet. So if you can get to a computer, get to your Chromebooks, go ahead and log into those Chromebooks to do these lessons because it's a lot easier to see on your screen as well as working on this Nearpods. So let's move on to the next slide. Our learning objective is the same as yesterday. I'll be able to add, subtract, multiply, and divide decimals fluently. Next slide. Here is your warm-up. Okay, guys, so you need to be very careful when you're working on these problems. We have positive numbers. We have negative numbers. The first one, letter A, is negative 27 minus 2. So I have a negative, and I'm taking 2 more away. It's going to get more negative, so it's going to be a bigger negative. On letter B, we have negative 81 divided by, that's a division symbol, divided by negative 9. Let's go ahead and write down what that equals. 49 divided by a negative 7. So remember those rules that we wrote down when we have positive negatives. That was about 2 lessons ago. So if you can pull out your notebooks and remember, or you can think about the Nacho Man. He's got the 2 negative eyes and a positive face. So use those rules to help us remember the rules for our integers when we're multiplying and dividing. Letter D is 12 times 8. Pretty straightforward to give us our answer. Just got to multiply. Letter E is negative 17 plus a 9. So add those 2 different numbers together. Remember those rules when I'm adding a negative and a positive. Letter F is a negative 15 plus a negative 8. Again, I got to think about my rules. A negative plus a negative. And then the last one, 29 times a negative 4. I have a positive and then I have a negative 4. What happens when I multiply? How does that change my answer? So multiply it and then figure out what you got to do to your answer. Do you have to make it negative or does it stay positive? All right, so keep on working this. Hit pause. And then I'm going to move on to my next slide in 3, 2, 1. Make sure you guys hit submit. All right, so here is a Number Rock video. They're adding and subtracting decimals, so it's going to show us those rules, how we need to line them up. I think if you push play, it is not going to play the video. So you need to click right here where it says watch this video on YouTube. Playback on websites have been disabled for this video, so they want you to go to YouTube so they can get those YouTube views and make that YouTube money. I am in the wrong job. I got to make that YouTube money, become a YouTuber. Just joking, guys. I'm not very good at gaming or making videos, so I would never make it on YouTube. I'm really good at math, and I'm going to teach you that math and make my dollars in teaching you math. What? Okay. So this is exactly where we stopped the last lesson. So now let's try 1/4. So let's go ahead and get out those notebooks with the same notes that we had from when we ended the lesson. So now we're going to go ahead and use fourths as our new example. So let me go ahead and open up my document camera so you can see what I am writing. Document camera, here we go. Hey, so these are our notes that we had yesterday. So we were adding, subtracting, multiplying, and then dividing, and we had all the separate rules to help us remember. And then remember, when I'm looking at fractions, I want to change them to decimals because it's easier to do my math with decimals than it is with fractions, especially since we're just starting out. Once we go ahead and get a little bit more into math, we'll be able to add, subtract, multiply, and divide those fractions. But for now, I ain't going to worry about fractions. Let's look at our lesson. Let's look at our example, all right? Because we're working these together. So I have 12 minus 3 and 1/4. So if I have 12 minus 3, 1/4, 1/4, that's like a fourth of a dollar, which is a quarter, because it takes 4 quarters to make a dollar. So 1/4 is a quarter. And how many cents is a quarter? 25 cents. Come on, guys. 25 cents makes a quarter. So we got 12 minus 3 and a quarter, or 3.25. 3.25. That's going to be our new number that we have. So instead of that fraction 1/4, we have the 0.25 after the 3. I'm going to put my decimal right here after the 12 because I want to make sure I have my decimals, because our rules are we need to line up those decimals. So I want to know where those decimals are before I go ahead and write them vertically and start my subtraction. So I'm going to have 12 and I'm going to line it with that 3.25, but my 12 doesn't have any numbers at the end. So I'm just going to put zeros right above each one of those numbers. So now I have zeros. So yeah, I know I did work out this problem earlier. So you guys are just going to go ahead and match my notes, but I will talk us right through it. So if I have 0, I can't take 5 away from 0. So I got to borrow from the neighbor. But the neighbor doesn't have anything either. So he's going to go to his neighbor. So now he borrows 1 from the neighbor. So that becomes a 1. Now he has 10, but remember the first person was asking him for 1, so he's going to take 1 of those away, so he becomes a 9, and now this one has 10. Okay, so we were going place value back 1, back another 1. Now we're where we need to be. So now I can do 10 minus a 5. So 10 minus 5 is just 5. 9 minus 2 is going to be 9, and I take away 2. So that's going to be 7. And now I have 1 minus the 3. Well, I can't do that, so I can just look at my neighbor. Oh, I can just say now this is 11. 11 minus 3. And 11 minus 3 is 7, 8. All right. So my new number, I bring down that decimal point right where it needs to be. We have 5, 7, and our 8. So our answer is not 875. It's 8.75. Okay, so we need to bring that decimal, line it up perfectly. Either if we're adding or subtracting, those decimals need to be lined up perfectly when we're adding or subtracting. Now, when we multiply, first thing we want to do is change those fractions into decimals. So we have 2 times 2 and 1/4. I got to change this 1/4 right here back to a decimal. So we said 0.25 was our, and blah, 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 blah. We said 0.25 is our decimal when we change that fraction into a decimal. So now our new problem is 2 times 2.25. Now, like I said before, when I'm multiplying, I like to put the one on top of the other. Just like this example, it helps me do my multiplication. Another thing I like to do is the number that is longer, the one that has more digits. So this one has 2, 2, 5. So this one has 3 digits. This is just a 2. I like to put the longer one on the top. Okay, the one that has more numbers, I always like to put that one on top so I don't have to have all these little partial sums. In this case, I'll just do one time across multiplying. I won't have to go back and forth and worry about those extra zeros like this one. So I'm going to write my problem 2.25 times 2. So I'm going to draw my decimals where they belong, and now I'm just going to multiply. I'm not going to worry about the decimal place values yet until I get my answer, okay? So 2.25 times 2. So 2 times 5 is 10. There's my 1. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 more makes that a 5. And 2 times 2 is 4, so I get 450. But then I got to remember about my place values. I moved it 1, or there's 1, 2 decimals up here. No decimal, so 2 plus 0 is just 2. So I'm going to go back 1, 2. So my decimal is right there. So my number isn't 450, it's 4.50 or 4.50. 4 and 5/10. Okay? Make sure you're writing these down in your notes. There are good examples for you to work on. So maybe we can like separate, because that one's pretty close. So separate those, adding and subtracting away from the multiplying. Then I'm going to do another little squiggly down here. Separate the division from the multiplying. It just makes it look a little bit more separate, kind of less confusing. All right, so this problem we're going to do is dividing. Is 4 divided by 1/4. That 1/4 is really 0.25. So 4 divided by 0.25. So remember, that first number is on the inside. This is on the outside. Remember the movie, Inside Out. So first one goes inside. Next one goes outside. So when I write my number, I have 0.25 divided by 4. But my first rule here, I want to make that number that's outside the divisor. So the number that is dividing. This number on the outside, I want to make it a whole number. So we're going to move from 0.25, we're going to move it 1, 2 place values and make it just a 25. And whatever I do to one side, I got to do to the other side. So whatever I did to the outside, I'm going to do to the inside. Since my decimal is right here, I'm going to move it over 1, 2. And I couldn't have 2 place values that are just blank, so we put the zeros, 0, 0. So my new number now, I have 25 on the outside, and my new number on the inside will now be 400, because my new decimal is right here. Okay? So my new problem is going to be, I went ahead and worked it out, so I'm just going to rewrite it on this paper. So our new problem is 25 divided by 400. So I got to do my math. So I can either think about how many quarters are in $4, because that's 400 cents is like $4. Or I can do the long division, and I'm going to do the long division for you guys. So 25, can I put 25 into 4? Can I make groups of 25 out of that 4? No, 4 is too small, so I can't do anything there. So I'm going to put a 0. All right, so now I'm going to go over one more place value. So now I have 40. How many 25s can I put into 40? Well, just one. Only one of my 25s fits in there. So if I subtract it, how much will I have left over? Got to borrow one from here. This becomes a 3. This is a 10. So 10 minus 5 is 5. 3 minus 2 is 1. So I have 15. But now I'm going to go to my next place value. So I bring down the 0. This becomes 150. And how many 25s are in 150? 25, 50, 75, 100, 125, 150. So that's 6 times. And just to double check, there's nothing left over. My decimal was right here, so my decimal goes up here in my answer. So now I have a whole number. There's no remainder, so I don't have to keep on going to decimal place values. So my answer is just a 16 because the decimal is at the end. So this is 16 as a whole number, as a regular natural counting number. So 16 is what I get when I divide 400 by 25. All right, guys. So those are our notes for today. So let's go ahead and go back to our Nearpod. So let me go ahead and shrink this out and go back to our Nearpod. If you need to keep writing down these notes, go ahead, make sure that you're putting pause, rewind the video, and write those notes down. All right, so here was our notes. Let's go to the next slide. So I don't know if you guys are going to have access to that collaborative board, but I want you to tell me step by step, how do I solve these problems? So your first step, what do I have to do? Your second step, and then your third step to solve this problem. Go ahead and let me know. And then also think about, is my answer going to be positive or negative, and how do you know? So you go to this collaborative board, you go down here to the bottom, and you type your thoughts. So the very first thing I want to think about is, if I'm doing this problem, the first thing I want to do is change fractions to decimals. And then I would click post, and hey, there's my post-it. Okay? And then keep on telling me step by step. If you want to do one big post-it, you can do it. If you want to do separate steps and different post-its, hopefully other people are filling this in. I'm in teacher mode right now, so I'm only seeing an example. I don't get to see the whole thing unless I go to actually check how we did. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide in 3, 2, 1. Make sure you guys put pause and answer those before we keep on going. Uh-oh, I skipped one. All right, so this is our problem we're going to work on. Now we want to actually solve this problem. 2 1/4 times a negative 15. So I want to see your answer that you get when you multiply these two numbers. So we have to pay attention to our positive and negatives. We have to pay attention to turning fractions to decimals. And then we have to pay attention to when we get our answer, where does the decimal go? So gotta change that product. So here we go. This is the poll. Here is the question. So again, up here on the top, if you click on it, it brings back the problem. And now I need you guys to go ahead and solve it. So go ahead and put pause, solve it, and then let's move on. Moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right. So hopefully you chose your answer and it is going to be recorded. All right, so now we are on the next slide. In this slide, now we're going to go ahead and do one more thing in our notebooks. We're going to go ahead and write down all the different fractions we're going to see in our problems and change them into decimals. So we're going to have a nice new resource to look at those fractions and decimals. Also, I think if we look at them on those number lines, it helps us get a better understanding of why certain fractions are these kind of decimals and how those fractions end up looking. So let's go ahead and get out our journals. I'm going to turn it to the next page. And then I'm going to open up my document camera. So I'm giving you a couple seconds to get your papers. Now let me go ahead and open my document camera. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and write these down. So you need maybe a ruler, some type of book. So I use my book to help me go to bed, my dinosaur book when I go to bed. You know, I read it every night. It keeps me sleepy. Just joking. Just joking. This is a book. This is my kids' books. So I'm going to draw my first line. So I use this as a ruler. Help me draw those straight lines, although I kind of messed up at the end there. So my first number line, I go from 0 to 1. And I'm going to do 6 of these number lines. So we're going to go ahead and do all of them. So that's 1. I give myself a little bit of space. And then this is going to be my second number line. So if you want to keep on drawing these, you can draw them with me. If you want to skip ahead a little bit on this video, I would not suggest it because you're going to miss all this artistic drawing of lines that I'm doing. And then this fun commentary because, Mr. Biza likes to talk while he works because it makes it feel like it's less boring. And, it's a little bit more fun if you're talking, with other people. I'm talking by myself, so it is a little bit weird. But who also talks to themselves? Vloggers, people who vlog. Like, how do they do those vlogs and have all these conversations? And I feel like they're talking to me, but there's not even anyone there. So they're really just talking to a camera and pretending people are there. It's kind of crazy. But I mean, I get it, as a teacher and like me doing these virtual lessons, I'm talking to nobody right now. But I know you're listening and being like, wow, he talks so much right now. But I'm still paying attention for some reason. How is he doing it? It must be magic. Nope, it's just, filling the time. And you guys should be matching me what I'm doing anyway. So since you're matching me, it also gives you that time to feel like, oh, he really is teaching me a lesson. So I really want to learn. I actually think I drew one extra number line. So let me count. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oops. I drew one extra number line. But it's okay. A little extra never hurt nobody. So we'll just have a blank one at the end. Or I'll just have one. You guys just do 6. Don't make the mistake I did. Learn from my mistakes. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and do my first number line. So I'm going to label the first number line. The first thing we want to do is just like we did halves first. So I'm going to circle it to let me know that it's not part of the actual number line, but this is going to be dealing with halves. So right down the middle, we said that half 1/2, that's halfway. And the reason it's half because I have only one part and this is split up into 2 parts. So then 2 out of 2 equals 1 whole. So 2 out of 2 is really equal to 1. So that's why this is just half because I only have 1 out of the 2. And then 2 out of the 2 makes a 1 whole. And like we said before, that fraction is going to be changed to a decimal. And we said it was going to be 0.5. But I like to say 0.50 because it reminds me of money. Half of $1 is 50 cents. And I put the 0 on the front to remind me that this is a decimal. So 0.50 or 0.50. The next fraction we did was fourths. So I'm going to cut this number line into 4 parts. So I'm going to do half and then cut those halves in half. So now I cut my number line into 4 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4 parts. So this first part is my 1/4. My second part is 2/4. My third part is 3/4. And then the last one is 4 out of 4. And 4/4 is equal to 1 whole. So let me just draw this one a little bit better. I don't know. It still looks very ugly. It looks like what is that? This is like a golf, when they go golf and the little flag when the hole in one or whatever. Don't make fun of my writing. It's beautiful. Okay, so 1/4 we said was 0.25. And remember, I like to put a 0 at the beginning of it. So 0.25, that's what we said. So now if I double it, right? So now I have 2/4, I'm going to have 1 and 2 spaces. So 2 of those spaces would be 25 plus 25 is 50. Hey, look at that. 0.50, 1/2 was 0.50. So 2 divided by 4, or 2/4, is the same as 1/2. This is just double the number. So half of 2 is 1. Half of 4 is 2. So this 2/4 is the same as 1/2. Look at that. Now I'm going to go 1, 2 to my third fourth. So I have 25. And then I had 50. So another 25 would make it 75 cents. Okay, and then the last one is my 1 whole dollar. So that's why we're not putting anything at the end, because this is just 1 whole. All right. Now on to our more obscure fractions. Oop, I forgot to write 1/4 over here. Labeling this number line, 1/4. Our next one now we're going to work is 1/3. Okay, so this one's a little bit trickier to draw those lines. Let's go with right here and right here. There we go. That seems pretty good. So 1, 2, 3 spaces. My first one is 1/3. The second one is 2/3. And I'm just going to go ahead and put our decimals. Some of us may remember this 1/3. It's 0.33, and that 3 is repeating. Okay. So my next one is I go to 2/3. So I'm just going to double this number. So it's 0.66, and those are repeating. Those sixes repeat forever. And then finally, when I get to one whole, it's just going to be 1, so I don't have to write my decimal up there because this is already a whole number. Our next fraction now is another 1. This one is usually easy to remember for me. I don't know why, but 1/5. So I'm going to draw 5 spaces. Oof, I don't like this one to draw. I do like this fraction though, 1/5. For some reason, it's always easy for me to remember. For some reason, I think about nickels, but nickels doesn't make any sense. So if I think about nickels, well, how many nickels do I need to make $1? I need 20 of them. So it takes 20 cents 5 times. I don't know. For some reason, 1/5 really stuck with me. I don't know why. But this right here is 1/5. This is 2/5. I go to my third space. That's 3/5. See, 1, 2, 3. So like I'm filling up. I filled it 1/5 of the way. I filled it 2/5 of the way. I keep filling it up till it's 3/5. Fill it up some more. That's 4/5. And then I fill it up all the way till it's full to one whole thing. All right. So 1/5, like I said, if I have 100 and I divide it by 5, that's gonna be 20. So it's like change. So that's 20 cents. I double 20, so 20 plus 20 is 40. So 0.40. I have 40, and I'm going to do another 20, so that makes it 40 plus 20 equals 60. Oops. Make that a little bit bigger. And then 60 plus another 20 makes 80. There you go. I like 1/5 again. I don't know why. I just really want to harp about it. Like, yeah, that's a really nice fraction. Those are nice numbers to look at, nice numbers to work with. Fifths. I'm down with it. Now our next fraction is 1/6. These ones I don't like as much. So I'm going to make 6 equal groups. So 6 is an even number. So I'll put a line right down the middle. Then let's make 1, 2, 3. Oh, geez. 4, 5, and 6. Okay, just to prove to you guys that those 6 spaces. So 1 space, 2 space, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So there are 6 spaces. So this is 1, 6. This is 2, 6. This is 3, 6, 4, 6, and 5, 6. Whew. All right, so I never remember what these two are, the 1/6 and the 5/6. Even to today, I'm gonna forget. Luckily for you guys, I'm gonna write it down. You guys don't have to really figure it out. If I divide by 6, 100 divided by 6 is gonna be 0.16, and those 6's go on forever. So I put a line right above the 6. My 2/6, I am pretty much going to double it, but hold on. 1/3 is right there, and that lines up with my 2/6 right here, because if I get half of that 2, that's 1. Half of that 6 is 3. So 2/6 is equal to 1/3. So that means that my decimal right here is going to be 0.33. Repeating. Then I get to 3/6, and hey, look at that. It lines up with my 2/4, which lines up with the 1/2. So if I look at 3 and 6, 3 is exactly half of 6. 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. So 3/6 is half. So that means this middle number right here is 0.5. Or I like to go one more, like it's change 50. So this number over here was 1/3. So this one over here, if I divide half and half, so half of 4 was 2, half of 6 was 3, that one equals 2/3. So this one is 0.66, and that 6 is repeating, just like we had up here for 2/3. And then this last one, the 5/6, I always forget this one. It's 0.83 repeating. I don't like those numbers. I think they're ugly. But we have them in our notes. So when we take a quiz or when we do our exit ticket, we have the notes written down to help us figure them out. Something fell. We ain't going to worry about that now. And then our last fraction we want to remember is 1/8. So these are all the fractions that you're going to be asked to remember. I don't think there's any other ones as you move along in your high school or 8th grade. You might do maybe tenths, but tenths are just 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. They're easy to remember. But other than this, these are going to be pretty much the only fractions you're ever going to have to memorize as you move forward in your math schooling. So let's go ahead and draw these 8 spaces. So 8 is an even number, so I can put a line in the middle. Now, so I want to be 4 on this side and 4 on this side to make 8. So 4 equal spaces. Hopefully those are pretty good lines. This will be like half and half and half. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, I did it. 8 equal spaces, equal-ish, you know. I think they're pretty straight. My number line is ugly on that side. 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, and then 8/8 equals 1. Let me do that for these ones. I completely forgot. 6/6 equals 1. 5/5 equals 1. 3/3 equals 1. Oh my gosh. Why didn't anyone remind me as I was drawing it? All right. So there we are. We have all 8 of our 8s on here, including our 1 whole. And 0/8 is going to be 0. So that's that. So let's go ahead and write down what our fractions are as a decimal. So if I go 1/8, that's going to be 0.125. 2/8, wait a second, those are both even numbers. So I can divide that top number by 2 and the bottom number by 2. So this fraction is equal to 1, and half of 8 is 4. Hey, it's the same as 1/4. So if I look at 1/4 is down here, on up here, they're in the exact same spot. So this number is 0.25. Now I have 0.25. I'm going to add the 0.125. So I want to make sure I'm adding the right place values. So the 1 that's after the decimal, I'm going to add that to the 2. So 0.3. Then 2 plus 2 is 2. The second number is a 2. The second number is a 5. So 2 plus 5 is 7. There's only that third number. There's no third number there. So that's just going to be 5. 0.375. This number right here is 4/8. I can divide both of them. 4 is half of 8. So that means this fraction is 1/2. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 2. So this fraction would be, or this decimal would be 0.5. Hey, look, it lines up with the 3. They're both halves. Cool. All right, so now we're going to add another 0.125 to our 0.50. So the 1 goes with the 5. So 0.6. And then there's just a 2.5 left over here. Nothing else to add to it. 6/8. Oh, both of those again can be divided by 2. So half of 6 is 3. Half of 8 is 4. So 3/8 is equal to 3/4, which we said was 0.75. So 0.75. And then our last one, I'm going to add again the 0.125 to 0.75 to give me 7/8. So 0, 1 plus 7 is 8, 2 plus 5 is 7, and that 5 is just left over. There's my decimal place. Woo! We are finished with all our numbers on these number lines to kind of help you figure out what it looks like. So let me go ahead and zoom out so we can look at all the hard work we did in our notes. So we have all of these fractions all drawn on a number line. Awesome job drawing those. But we are not done with our lesson. That did take a while, but we are not done with our lesson. Okay, guys? So let's go ahead and now move on to our next slide. So let's go back to the Nearpod. So we drew in our notes. Those were the fractions, the 1/2, the 4ths, the 3rds. Then we had the 5ths, the 6ths, and the 8ths. So now I want you guys to go ahead and match. Use your notes that we just drew. Go ahead and match on this slide. Match the fractions with the decimals. So match the fractions with all these decimals. I think there are 8 different fractions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different fractions and 8 different decimals. Match them together. So go ahead and put pause, match those up, and then you can push play. So let's move on to the next slide in 3, 2, 1. On to the next slide. And here's our last thing before we do our exit ticket. We're going to look at this quiz. So 1 divided by 6. Oh, that's the first question out of 6. Silly me. 1/2 as a decimal is, look back at your notes and then choose the correct answer. Problem 2, 2/3 as a decimal. Again, we just got to look back at our notes and write it down. Easy peasy. 3/4 as a decimal. Oh, yes. It's a good time we spent that extra time putting all those into our notes. Number 4, 4/5. Again, that one is in our notes. Hey, let's keep going. 5/6 as a decimal. 5. I read this again. 5 out of 6, and our fraction is 5/6. It's a simple choice, guys. But remember, 5/6 was one of those decimals I didn't like. It was hard for me to remember. So pick the one that is correct. And then 5/8 as a decimal. Oh my gosh. I hope we get 100% on this. You should have got those notes in your notebooks. Awesome, awesome. All right, so we're going to go ahead and now you guys can add. I don't think this slide should be here. Oh, yes, because that's what we were doing. We were adding and subtracting decimals. So we're going to subtract this decimal. All right. Divide this decimals. Multiply. I think we actually did this exact same problem yesterday. And then add. So subtract, divide, multiply, add. Quick double check before we do our exit ticket. Okay. And let's go to the next slide in 3, 2, 1. There's the end of our recording. There is the end of our lesson. So make sure you go to lesson number 4, exit ticket. Show me what you learned. Show me that you can do it. Awesome job today, guys. This was a big lesson. We got lots of notes. But remember, those notes are going to help us kill it and get 100% on these exit tickets, okay? So use your notes. Use what you learned to get 100 on these exit tickets, okay? And I will see you guys in the next one. And hopefully I see ya in the classroom real soon. Bye-bye.